Good late Thursday or late Friday. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, giving a look at those temperatures here. Pretty late hour. It is, fairly warm. It's getting in toward that summertime pattern here. Those 70s prevalent around 1:30 in the morning. You see a few scattered showers toward the Atlantic waters, but not too big of a deal. I know we will see some moisture still in that forecast as we look ahead. We had that severe weather concern toward Duval County back on that Thursday afternoon, and then Thursday morning there we had a little rain around Stark, about a third of an inch. I know as we're kind of tracking things here in toward the weather center, we will have some more moisture coming in, but the rain case is a little unclear in some ways. We'll have some scattered acts, and it'll probably focus more toward Georgia. I know the forecast when I show it to you guys in a few minutes might be a little bit confusing, that I have a lot of 50% chances, but the chances will focus more toward Georgia here as we're looking ahead. There will be some stronger storms possible, especially Saturday. There's even a slight convective risk there, 2 out of 5 in our far northern southern Georgia counties. So that'll be something we're watching. I'll be on as needed, of course, giving you guys the latest to protect you, your friends, and your family. But right now, anyway, it's looking pretty good around the area. I know, as we're kind of looking at things, I'll kind of broaden the view out toward Oklahoma. You see some mornings there toward the Oklahoma Panhandle, Texas Panhandle. We had some severe weather, really nasty severe weather on Lubbock on that Thursday evening that we were tracking as well there. A lot of hail, a lot of wind, tornado potential there, flooding, 3 feet of water observed in an area there. So not a good situation. Injury from lightning, injury from a tornado, in the vicinity there. So not fun at all as we're looking toward that area. On Friday, there's a risk as well. We'll have to watch maybe even southern Missouri and western Kentucky among some of the areas that could have an isolated tornado risk. Not an overwhelming risk, but it is there. We got to pay attention. Things can kind of escalate just out of the blue, or they could just kind of uptick enough until they're noteworthy. So we'll have to just make sure that we're paying attention here. It won't be completely up, out of the blue. You won't get completely caught off guard there. But I know toward Chesterfield, Missouri, they did have something that was pretty surprising. A quick spin up tornado happened around there on that Wednesday. But as we're looking at things and as we're tracking things here, see those 80s toward Texas there. That is some warm air. I mean, toward Dallas and Houston. It's cooler in the panhandle of Texas. We've really been paying attention even more severe weather now. I mean, this is 12:30, 12:45, give or take a.m. Central Time. We're still watching some storms with some spin here as we're tracking things. And severe thunderstorm warning north of Lubbock there right now. I just had some gusts there at about 64 miles an hour in the last little bit. And you have again the Saxon here toward the Oklahoma Panhandle, the Texas Panhandle. So definitely noteworthy to say the least as you kind of look at things here, as you kind of monitor things here. I'm just trying to give you the latest, obviously. You can see here what we're dealing with, what we're monitoring here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom back in again. Not anything really now, but 12-hour rainfall does so. Some areas getting quite a bit of precip. We had a plus flood warning over Coffee County, Georgia, actually, that we covered a little bit for you there. We had about 4 inches of rain in some of these areas south of the Ambrose community there, around the Bushnell community there, Bushnell, depending on how you pronounce that there, and toward Coffee County. So I know this kind of noteworthy there. Some of those lighter reds, and if you zoom back in here, you see some of these oranges even. If you look real close, 4+ inches observed on the Doppler radar technology, at least. I mean, it's radar indicated, but you get what I mean. That's actually probably normal in these situations they're doing it. So probably even a little bit more than that as we're tracking things. So that's definitely a storyline there. As you see the current radar view, though, not anything too crazy right now. As we're tracking things, as we're giving you guys a heads up on things the best we can. We're just going to go ahead and look at some of the model guidance here. I want to see the HRRR. Bear with me. Not showing too much here in the coming hours. Okay, so that's the storyline there. Kind of progressive here the overnight. Not too big of a deal as we get toward like 10 a.m., 11 noon. 1 o'clock, 2 p.m., 3, 4, give or take. Not much in that period, but I need to go back a little bit in the model. So I'll take it off. And then we'll pull up the model here to 0Z, which is letting me go further out here. You started to see 4 o'clock and 5, especially maybe around Tallahassee, 6 o'clock, 7. So maybe something there, but each model run is going to set things a little bit differently sometimes. So just continuing to track things there. 8, 9, 10 p.m., 11, midnight. You kind of get the idea as we're looking at things and as we're tracking things here. I know, let's look at the satellite. Not seeing too much right now, even over our area. That's good. We do need rain, though, as you'll see in the drought outlook here in just a moment. The drought monitors. Again, we're just going to continue to watch things here. Continue to give you guys the very latest on exactly what's happening. I mean, some 40s, interesting to see up in parts of Kansas there. And, well, back that up, not Kansas, parts of Nebraska there. And South Dakota as we're looking at things here on the map. So, Kansas a little bit warmer than that as we're tracking things. But, just giving you guys the very latest. And I had some severe weather warnings on that Thursday there as well. So, see in Colorado, even some 30s still up there, though, as you look in some of the different areas. So intriguing to see all that. The blast weather warnings in parts of California and Nevada there. So again, telling that weather story, obviously. Giving you guys the very latest on exactly what's going on. So just got the new outlook in for your day 1 convective. A look at things, and it's about to update. That's why I pulled that up. That's the current day 1 per se, but it's about to sell the one ballot after 8 a.m. on that Friday there. There you go. You see a marginal risk in north parts of our northwestern, southwest Georgia counties. Again, it's a split here in that, our areas for the south going to have a lot less rain chances. Areas north, 150. I mean, you probably go 60, 70 for some of these areas if you're just forecasting for South Georgia. Probably 30, 40 for North Florida, give or take. And some of the days to come before we get later next week, it may kind of, be more of a Florida factor where the higher chances come in toward the Florida counties as well. But you see there is a wind risk here in our far northwestern zone, but it doesn't mean that we couldn't have something down to the south of Pop-Up-Action, which is always tough to forecast. That risk will move further south on Saturday, by the way, and then you see the current radar with the current, concern looking ahead toward that Friday there. They're going SPC 5% tornado risk here, southeastern Colorado, southwest Kansas, Texas Panhandle, down in toward Lubbock again, eastern New Mexico, and then a 2% risk all the way there to the heartland there as we're looking at things. And then you have hail risk, the wind risk there, that goes a lot bigger there, all the way from Colorado, New Mexico, through areas there inward western North Carolina. So that's a noteworthy storyline there. So again, I'm just trying to give you guys the very latest on what's going on with all that here. Enhanced risk because of the hail concern around Lubbock. And then also in the northern parts of Colorado and Kansas, a little bit of Oklahoma, I think, is in there too. Yeah, just a little bit. But again, as we're kind of giving you guys the latest, and it's kind of hard to see, but see a little bit of Oklahoma Panhandle involved. And I will go ahead and continue, give you guys the latest information here. Let me go ahead and get into some of that other information. I know we were watching an area here of some spin that we thought had a really, really low chance of tropical development. There's no longer even a official risk for that. So that did not become Andrea, which is some good news here as we're looking at things. Not that we were expecting it, but Andrea and then Barry, those first 2 names on the list here in 2025 with the Atlantic hurricane season running through November 30th. We're not expecting any tropical cyclone formation in the Atlantic basin for the next 7 days at least. So that's good news. Good news. We have to watch later on in June. We'll see. American model has been trying to show something, but it has been really inconsistent in that I mean, it's been trying to say something consistently, but it does not seem it has a very good grasp on the pattern right now. So it could be hinting that we end up having something, but it could be weak. We would need, really a weaker system to come on through here to be maybe beneficial. Obviously, a stronger system is never beneficial, but really, but a weaker system. Maybe we could just get one where we didn't have, much of the hazards that you generally get concerned with, but we get some rain. Because that's what we need here around here, some more precip to get us out of this drought. And sometimes a weak tropical storm can do it if you get it to set up right. You don't want too much rain though, and you don't want the tornado threat, which can sometimes be prevalent out of those systems. I mean, you remember Allison toward Texas 24 years ago, for instance. That was way, way too much rain. So, as we go ahead and look here next 7 days at rainfall forecast, we are seeing some rain coming, at least to the picture. That's a little bit better, still not maybe enough, but better. I mean, 1.5 inches or so into lower parts of north central Florida, around Stark to Lake City there, and Gainesville in that as well. You see that's on average. Some areas get a lot more, some will get less. That's just how it is this time of year. I know you see areas further west a lot more. I mean, Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, Texas. I mean, Oklahoma is a focus though on that with the precip there, southeast Oklahoma especially. Maybe a half foot of rain in some backyard. And I know you can go to clutter.com/radar for an active look at things, whether we're on the air or not. I know sometimes this accident can ruin those beach plans for a little bit here around our local area, but we need the rain so badly. It's gotten a little better here. I mean, but it's still not good enough. As you see, Marion, Putnam, Flagler, St. John still in a severe drought as the latest outlook. I mean, it doesn't factor in the rain after Tuesday, morning really, but still, it gives you an idea that we need more precip. Some of the South Florida areas improving a little, but there's still an extreme drought in some of those spots. So, gotta be mindful of all that. As you see, our covered area, we're always on for any tornado warning storms in the 62 counties. We're watching some potential to get a tornado warning toward Duval on that Thursday, but luckily it did not happen. So that's some good news. I know we had that tornado last week there in northern St. Johns County. That was obviously a cause for concern. Didn't have a warning for it the day before. We had a tornado warning in north southeast Georgia area there, and did not end up getting a confirmed tornado out of that. I do not believe. You never know. I was going to remain on guard. We're always on top of things here. In toward the weather center. You just got to remain alert for rapidly changing weather conditions, of course. As we're always giving you the latest on Facebook, on Twitter /X, YouTube, Twitch, and Clutter.com. So, Clutter.com, there you have the different links to the sources. So, always important to keep in mind there, the live streams and the like. You have Interactive Radar over there. And then as we go ahead and see that extended forecast now, you see 50% chance of rain on that Friday. And I know this is what I was talking about. I know it's a little bit, I don't love going 50% this much because that makes it look like, well, we don't know what is going to happen. Well, just the pattern here is that really, if we were just forecasting for South Georgia, a lot of these 50s would be closer to 60, 70-ish%. And if we were just forecasting for North Florida, it'd be like 30, 40%. So that's where it's focusing generally more to the north. Some of the models are having a more, a discrepancy. I mean, there's a chance that stuff could hold it together more North Florida, but some of it's not even holding it together as much, further north. So, but more of them are definitely focusing up further north. You eventually see the rain chances uptick there toward next Wednesday, next Thursday there. As we're tracking things, as we're monitoring the situation here, and toward the weather center. So, again, I hate going 50% so many days, but kind of gives you an idea of what we're talking about there, how I explained it. And you see those temperatures there. Low 90s on some of these days, but closer to middle 90s, like Sunday, for instance. So that's above average. Morning low slightly above average as well here. Not too much, but that's when that humidity coming in play, getting that summertime pattern going on here a little quick. But it's not going to be the exact pattern, as we're going to have some convection points come from the north to the south with the overall weather pattern meteorologically that's ongoing across the country. So that could lead to a little bit more organized severe weather in spurts here toward like South Georgia. So that's kind of the storyline there as as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things. Again, we still need rain. We don't want lightning though. We're gonna get some of that though, but you gotta get the good there and take the good with the bad. We want more good than bad though, because we do need that beneficial rain. And South Georgia's had some drought concern as well, but not as much looking at the latest numbers here as we were looking at things behind the scenes. But Speaking here of the overall meteorological pattern, I know, folks are wondering how things are looking out toward the Pacific Northwest, even in our area, because FSU baseball is playing out there. It's so exciting. FSU baseball is playing out there in toward the Corvallis Super Regional here in baseball game, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific on that Friday. Temperatures look pretty good. I was looking at the 80s there. Not really a rain chance in that part of the country. As we're looking ahead toward that Friday, Saturday, that's game 6 p.m. Eastern on Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific on Friday, and then on Saturday it'd be 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. I believe those first two games are slated for ESPN2, and that if necessary, third game would be at some point time to be determined on Sunday. So go Noles, get that job done there, get that Super Regional, victory there in game one, get in game two, win that Super Regional, move on to Omaha, try to win that first national championship. I know it's easier said than done, very much so. Noles, all those great players for that team. It will be tough environment though as we're looking at things out toward the Pacific Northwest. I mean, giving you geography, looks at things that interstate in red there is I-5, Interstate 5. You see Portland to the north, University of Oregon and Eugene toward the south. Corvallis there is closer to Eugene than anything. It's kind of not the easiest here to get to in some ways as we're looking there and as we're tracking things. But as we're kind of looking at the overall meteorological storyline, a long trip for the Noles, but they need to come back and, get that, super regional victory, really get that and then be able to take that spot that they have in Omaha and be able to win that national title. At least we're not worried about lightning really out there from what I've seen as we're looking out there toward the Pacific Northwest. They can sometimes get severe weather this time of year. It's a lot less prevalent down here, though. I mean, that's just a positive playing up there, even if, you're in a spot there where it's so far away from home. I mean, conditions pretty nice, cooler at night than they are during the day. During the day, 80s, the storyline to some degree, maybe getting toward, a little bit warmer than that as we look ahead toward that Sunday. As we're tracking things, as we're monitoring things there, in toward the weather center of 85 high on Friday, 87 Saturday, 91 Sunday. But we won't have as much humidity up there. No lightning, and some of those, games won't be played when it's the hottest. That's kind of the storyline there. As we're tracking things, as we're monitoring things. So that's kind of intriguing to see. Again, the Noles playing there in Corvallis, Oregon. Oregon State University is who they're playing. The Beavers, and they're an independent, as we're looking at most of their sports for this season. Pac-12, I know. It's just kind of a tricky thing. I say independent, I guess. Technically, I guess it was the Pac-12 for football, but I think it was only 2 teams, so that was kind of interesting. But baseball, I know they're independent this season, and that makes things difficult, but they're able to get the 8th overall seed there. And FSU the 9th, and a lot of top seeds went down. Oregon State did not, so that's why FSU to travel up there. Hopefully the Noles can get the job done there in Corvallis, Oregon. Pretty good weather conditions there, it would seem overall, I know. As we're looking toward that area of the country, as we're kind of looking at things, as we're tracking things there, just kind of intriguing here to look at, as we go ahead and move along here. We'll go ahead and keep on looking at things, keep on tracking things here in toward the weather center. We see here the local weather pretty calm right now. There's a new severe thunderstorm watch that just came down, though, including a lot of northern Oklahoma, including Tulsa now there. Right there in the metro. That's a severe thunderstorm watch that goes all the way to 8 a.m. Central Time. So A lot of northern Oklahoma going to have some of that severe weather concern overnight in the early morning hours up that way. That's storyline. Going to have to continue to watch things. Continue to track up that way. An isolated tornado can't be ruled out in that area and in close to the watch. That'll be something for some of those folks to pay attention to up that way. So, just always intriguing to keep an eye on the overall situation there as we're looking at things. That's to do it. I think that pretty much wraps it up for tonight. Let me see if there are any questions or comments from any of the viewers at home. We're about to wrap things up. I don't see any. But thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for trusting me. Have a great night. I'll be back as needed here in the days to come, whether it's for local and or national. Stay safe. Go Noles. I know. Get that super regional one there out in Oregon at Oregon State in Corvallis. Get those necessary victories. Best 2 out of 3. Just win the first 2, so you don't even have to worry about game 3. Get that job done. Save that pitcher even. For Sunday, you don't even need to use a pitcher on Sunday. There's not a game then if you've already won the first 2, if you're Noles. But again, that's the storyline there. It's gonna be tough. Oregon State is not an easy team. Don't get me wrong. They have been really good this year, despite being independent. I mean, they were really, after they lost their first game in the regional last week, they were destroying teams there on the field. I mean, just outscoring them by so many runs, not hardly allowing any runs. And, it could be something where FSU might have their hands full a little bit, but it's pretty evenly matched, I think, as we're kind of looking at things. I mean, it's kind of a toss-up as we're looking. I mean, you kind of say maybe FSU has more experience in some tough games. Oregon State, they're playing at home, and they're a good team as well, so it's kind of even. We'll see what happens. Go Noles. Get that job done. Get to Omaha. Get those wins there. Win that first national title. Again, it's easier said than done, but hopefully the weather cooperates if it gets to Omaha there, for the Noles, as they're looking at things. I know they couldn't have faced Miami there in Omaha in that first game, but we shall see. That's a long way off, really. Miami, they're in Louisville. Super regional, I believe it is, up there in Kentucky. So, ACC matchup there. ACC really doing good in baseball. FSU, Louisville, Miami, North Carolina there. Really getting the job done in those ACC regionals per se. With those ACC regional victories. Really getting that job done. So in the strength of the Atlantic Coast Conference there, as we're looking at things, as we're tracking things here, just kind of intriguing to see. Oh, that Duke's in there as well. I mean, FSU beat Duke by a wide margin in the ACC tournament, and they made it to a super regional. They're hosting, I believe, the super regional up that way as well. So that's a storyline. Very intriguing. As we're looking, SEC really struggling there. College baseball, they had, I believe, it was 13 teams in the tournament, only 4 of them left. They really struggled. Florida really had problems there. I couldn't get the job done there. Up in Conway, South Carolina, number 1 overall seed, Vanderbilt, they lost pretty early on, and then lost again, and then they were out of the tournament. Number 2 overall from the SEC was Texas. They got eliminated by UTSA, Texas San Antonio. So, I mean, that tells a story. SEC really maybe overrated in college baseball this year as they're looking at things. But there's still 4 teams left from that conference. Arkansas, Auburn, as well as Tennessee there. And Tennessee playing Arkansas. They look ahead toward that timeline as we are tracking things there. As we are monitoring things with all that, some intriguing matchups. Hopefully in other parts of the country the weather doesn't interfere. I know that won't, from what I've seen at least, up toward the Pacific Northwest. So, they are always prone, cross our fingers with this, but they are always prone up there to earthquakes and the like, more so in California, but they can have them in Oregon as well. So, hopefully we don't have anything like that. That's always something that, not something we can forecast, obviously, here in toward the Weather Center. But again, continuing to look at things, continuing to track things here. Always trying to stay on top of the storylines as we're tracking things. And softball, NCAA, Women's College World Series got delayed a little bit there in Oklahoma City area because of some weather in that region. They may have to contend with some weather again on Friday. Hopefully not, though. Hopefully the timing works out for them. It very well could, but there's a chance that it doesn't. As we're looking at things with that storyline. So we'll just kind of pay attention to all that. Watch all that here for sure. OSU also in there, by the way, besides Arkansas, Auburn, Tennessee, out of the SEC. But, you got to think of the mid-majors here, too. Coastal Carolina, Murray State, even. They both ended up, being in regions with SEC teams and getting the job done. And both look pretty good here as we look ahead. Have a great night. Stay safe. Go Noles.